next up in the recap of news, this week's news, we have a bit going on with Sha'Carri Richardson at the Olympics, and I hope I don't chop her name up, Kamila Valieva. Well, last week, Kamila became the center of a possible doping scandal at the 2022 Beijing Olympics, where she had tested positive for three drugs used for heart conditions, one of which was banned by WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, since 2014. It actually been banned because it can aid in endurance and enhance blood flow. The sample was collected back in December 25th, but it was not actually tested until the day after she had helped the Russians. She led the Russians to the top of the podium in team figure skating events, which is kind of crazy. Um, the Russian anti-doping agency briefly banned her, but eventually overturned the ban on the appeal. Last Monday, the Court of Arbitration for Sports ruled that she will be allowed to compete in the single skating event because of exceptional circumstances, including Camilla's status as a protected person under the World Anti-Doping Agency. If you don't know that, a protected person is someone under the age of 16 or otherwise not legally competent. Well, the CAS noted that if she was barred from the competition, there would also be irreparable harm, along with there being serious issues of why it took so long to notify the officials of her positive test, which is kind of janky. I mean, as you know, it's Russia we're dealing with here. Camilla's claimed that the positive test of the banned substance came from a contamination of her grandfather's heart medication, saying that it could have come from sharing the same drinking glass. The other drugs, although not banned, also aid in endurance, oxygen, and blood flow, which was said by her mother. She said that it was due to heart variations. Um, I do think that it is weird that all of these drugs aid into the same thing. And it's kind of hard to believe that a 15-year-old, in my opinion, wouldn't know that these things are being taken or actually influencing her performance. Well, it turns out that although she tested positive, the gold placing will still stand, but no medals will be distributed or are on hold until the full doping and anti-doping investigation is complete. After that reached the news, Sha'Carri Richardson spoke out about her being barred from competing in the Tokyo Olympics. She took to Twitter and said, "Can we get a solid answer on the difference of her situation to mine? My mother died and I can't run. It was also favored to place top three. The only difference I see is I'm a black young lady." Others thought about Sha'Carri when they heard about the 15-year-old testing positive. Unfortunately for Sha'Carri, there are a couple differences that kind of kept her from competing. Those differences would include being 21 at the time, which kind of keeps her from being a protected person. And at the time of competing, I'd say she was American, and that actually has a lot to do with it. Sha'Carri was banned from the Tokyo Olympics after traces of marijuana was found in her system. What actually sucks is that Sha'Carri was not considered that protected person, and then again, she was actually being judged by a different anti-doping agency than Kamala was. Um, while Kamala was being investigated by the Russian anti-doping agency, Sha'Carri Richardson was being investigated by the United States anti-doping agency, which kind of plays a big part when it comes to, I guess, pulling strings for certain things, if you get what I'm saying. While I and many others may think race could be somehow slightly involved, we could say that the United States also handles matters much differently than their Russian counterparts. Since 2018, if you didn't know, Russian Olympians have not been competing under the Russian flag. Rather, they have been competing as Olympians from Russia. The Russian anti-doping agency has been suspended for cooperation with the World Anti-Doping Agency since 2015 due to the manipulation with results being tampered with and samples being swapped. So although I do wish that Sha'Carri Richardson could have completed and placed in the top three, she was suspended. She wasn't suspended by the International Olympic Committee or the Court of Arbitration of Sports. It was actually the United States Anti-Doping Agency for that actually chose to punish Sha'Carri for the illicit drugs, the marijuana use that she had participated in. So for those that see it as unfair, unfortunately there were rules in place to kind of there were rules in place that actually kept her from being able to perform further, just as Kamila did. So sorry to kind of break that news, but I would like people to know that it isn't just race related. It's kind of the rules. It's just rules that have been set, and sometimes we just have to follow them.